Hello, welcome to the INFJ Visionary. This is your host, the INFJ Visionary, and this broadcast is about, a couple things. We'll make the title When Empathy Turns to Bluntness. How about that? But before we get into that, I want to talk about Sigma INFJ. Have you heard of this? Well, if you're like me, you're looking for INFJ content, Not a lot of people like you around, and you're looking for some common ground. You're looking for, I don't know, somebody that kind of thinks sort of like you do. I don't know if I think like you do. Maybe none of us think like any of the rest of us, but we're still looking. And so, what do? I search the YouTube for INFJ, and then I always turn the filter to recent, and then I scroll and I scroll and I scroll, looking for content from a real person, somebody who's not just pumping the INFJ stream to try and make some money. And that's where you'll see the INFJ Sigma quite often. And so, what's the genesis of the INFJ Sigma? Well, I happen to know because I tend to follow his blog, and that's Vox Day. He came up with something called the social sexual hierarchy. And it goes like this: you got your alpha, you got your beta, you got your delta, you got your gamma, and then you have your sigma. Obviously, the beta in a lot of situations might be the alpha, the delta in a lot of situations might be the beta. You get it. It moves like that. The sigma is outside, essentially outside the social sexual hierarchy. Now, one thing, I know this because I've been a fan of Vox Days for a long time, so I've seen the whole thing arise. Um, However, it will be that probably he's actually a super bright guy and a great writer, and his blog is always great. But this is probably going to be the thing he'll be known for, but he isn't as known for it as he should be because the social sexual hierarchy has got nothing to do with women. Now, I want this channel to appeal to women as much as possible. Obviously, well, maybe I identify as a male. Let's just put it like that. And us male INFJs, we're so rare. We're so ultimately and infinitely rare, and that's why we're the whatever. Yes, we're probably rare, but the reason why we are rare is because this isn't an easy way to be wired. We have a purpose to serve. We're a very subtle instrument that the universe uses to do certain types of jobs. And it's not an easy way to live. I don't need to tell you that if you're an INFJ. And if you're not an INFJ and you know one and you're trying to get to know him better, have some sympathy for that person because the way we're wired is very difficult. And we'll be talking about that probably as long as we are going to talk about the INFJ modality in this world, which will hopefully be for a long time because here I am. It's another day. So, Sigma, INFJ, if you're a female, it doesn't even apply to you, okay? In a sense, it might. There might be a female version of the social sexual hierarchy, but what the social sexual hierarchy is that men compete for the attention of women, and the women make the decision who they're going to have offspring with. And this goes back way before modern civilized times. This is just the way it is. Um, Not that every woman's automatically going to want to be with the alpha, but the alpha has a certain amount of appeal, and that's why they tend to have no shortage of female admirers. Yeah. So anyway, why do they hook into this sigma identity, even though they may be they may be female? Well, it's because it's the outsider. It's the one that's outside looking in. It's the one that's not affected. And to be honest, one of the things that Vox makes explicit is that the social sexual hierarchy is not so much about you looking up your type, like it would be for the Jungian archetypes. It's more about where you actually stand in the scale, and people know on some level. And certain people act certain ways. Some people are, for example, gammas, and gammas will tend to act in ways that are sort of bitter to the alpha structure, right? Now, the sigma is outside of that. And many times Sigma can be confused for being an alpha. And the reason for this is because the Sigma doesn't much care, doesn't give a damn about the social sexual hierarchy. Their attitude is, if you're a woman, well, here I am. If you're interested, if not, I got other things to do. That's kind of where they're coming from. And that can have its own appeal. And I think certainly to some type of women that are rebellious themselves, that are outside the normal parameters of what's considered to be by society to be normal. And gosh, there's a lot of women like that, and a lot of you are INFJs or INFPs. I am with my current partner is an INFP, and she's very rebellious in a lot of ways and has her own mind, her own way of thinking about things, and isn't like a lot of other women. And I found that to be, a desirable trait. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to define myself as a Sigma, but because, like Vox said, it's not really about that. You can decide. How about that? So let's get back to the supposed topic, which really I think in my brain was this whole Sigma thing. But I've said what I've got to say about that. So let's talk about when empathy turns to bluntness. Well, it can just happen at the drop of a hat, can't it? I do this all the time where I speak in a way that is energized, and I feel what I'm saying, and I project it, and I love the truth, and I try to speak truth. And I have a sense of humor, and I love people. So that's where I'm coming from when I talk. That's where I come from when I'm talking to you on this broadcast. This is what I'm about. What's great, though, is that I'm a bit anonymous here. I'm a floating head with a glowing eye. I'm showing you my light and my dark side both at the same time. But so where does the empathy fall and the bluntness come in? Frankly, they're always present. I think, just speaking, of course, I can only speak for myself, but I get in trouble for speaking bluntly to people all the time, and I don't even pick it up until I register the emotion on their face, and I go, "Oh, there, I did it again," and it's been to the point where people just won't talk to me again. I said something that they found so offensive, so direct, so blunt, that offended their sensibilities that they cannot engage with me any further, and I respect that. I have no problem with that. I'm not mad at them. They've got to do what they've got to do to keep themselves going, and that's all good. And unless, as we talked about in our previous broadcasts, unless I've made a point of slamming a door on them, my door's open. They can come around and talk to me, and that's happened lots of times where people ultimately figure out that I'm a good person, a nice person that wants to just be, kind and helpful, but I'm also blunt and direct. And not only that, a lot of times I see humor in the speaking the direct truth. I think it's funny, but people don't necessarily get on. And there are the times too where you forget that somebody may not be very self-aware. So be careful if you're calling out certain aspects of their personality, especially if you're making light of it, because you might have touched a very sore spot, a very tender spot. And of course, this is all part of the bluntness, isn't it? You really don't know until you found out, and then by then it might be too late. So my advice to you is, if you've done this, as I have, you know what? Don't worry about it. The people that want to hang out with you and soak up some of what you've got to offer, they'll be attracted to you. They'll come around, and you don't need to stress about this stuff. It's not important. If somebody can't hang with who you are and what you say, they think you speak too directly or you offended their delicate sensibilities, you're better off not being around this person. And they are better off not being around you, because if that one little bit of truth bothered them, well, what's the next bit of truth going to do? And the truth after that, Anyway, thank you for joining me today for this broadcast. This has been your host, the INFJ Visionary, and do me a favor, please. I would like you to take very good care of yourself until our next broadcast. I want you to stay out of trouble, and God bless you, INFJ. I see you.